There's a YouTube show full of fun facts you need to know. Carl rings the bell and the members show to the GMP morning show. Featured guests will come and they will blow your mind. The audience will do so in kind. The little vanity mixed with some insanity on the morning show with GMP.
Good morning, Portugal, and I'd like to welcome you to another fantastic day.
Hey, GuMPers.
Bon dia, Alegria. Munson here with the Good Morning Portugal show, live stream and podcast. Looking a little bit Ronnie Corbett on the screen this morning. I need to lift myself up a bit because what I've noticed is I slump as the show goes on. So let me just accommodate that or compensate for that with a little bit of camera movement. How are you this morning? And I'll be honest with you today. Should we make today Monday? Often on a Monday, it's nice to have a little bit of an easygoing start to the week. Play a few videos of what people have been up to at the weekend and just kind of take it easy as we ease our way into a new week. But there was no chance of that yesterday, was there? We had those fantastic guests, Bo and Erin from Ensemble Iberica, early on in the show, in the GuMPer Gathering part, this bit between now and 9. And then, of course, a very busy show thereafter, basically a panel discussion on why Portuguese people are profoundly dissatisfied with life here in Portugal. And of course, a chat with the wonderful Simone. Thank you for all the very kind words and positive feedback about yesterday's show, actually. The numbers are way up on the GMP show. So thank you very much for that. And yesterday was especially popular, I think, because of the subject matter, and also not just because of the subject matter, but how we dealt with it as well. So thank you very much, everybody, for your kind words and your continued involvement, viewing, support, however you support the Good Morning Portugal endeavour. Very grateful to you. And some of you are supporters whereby you gather and learn more about Portugal, specifically at gmpvip.com. And glad to say that is now app-based for both Android and iOS Apple users now. If you are a GMP VIP subscriber, supporter, a member of that particular community over there of people who support the show and learn a lot more about Portugal. I've changed the name, actually. You'll see if you go to gmpvip.com. It's called Learn About Portugal, which is really what it's all about, learning something new every day here on the Good Morning Portugal show, live stream and podcast. How are you? What have you learned about Portugal recently yourself? Do share in the comments. That is what it's all about. And yeah, that opening image, if you weren't here to see that, lots more images coming in. Thank you. See, Bayrandi is somebody we normally, his videos we normally see on a Monday morning. But he was a little bit late yesterday. He sent us a nice video, though, which I am saving right now. And some potato collecting, olives, cork tree. A few pickies from this morning's walk. So we'll go on a walk with Andy a day later than we normally would as well. That's fantastic. Cheers, Andy. Thank you for that. And this sent in to me as well. If you didn't see this image when we started the show, it's Loneliness Awareness Week. I don't know who United in Kind are. Somebody might like to look that up. United in Nature, the 12th to the 18th of June, 2023. You know how it is with these awareness weeks. Some are just straight up product placement and urging us to buy more stuff, aren't they? And then there are some nice, useful things as well. And this looks like one of those nice, useful things that we might like to help with and certainly have an opinion on. Their strapline for Loneliness Awareness Week, United in Nature, is go outside and get involved. And that presumably means getting involved in nature at the very least. And perhaps, people behaving in it. I'm not going to make the distinction between extroverts and introverts when it comes to loneliness, because of course there are some very lonely. There can be very lonely extroverts, as well as there can be some people who are introverted and not lonely at all. But many of us, including myself in that, enjoy our isolation from time to time and solitude. However, that's different, isn't it, to feeling lonely. And that's certainly, I think, something we can help with here in our own small way as GuMPers in this community. If anyone is feeling a little bit cut off or isolated, we're certainly here for you for 90 minutes or so each weekday morning. And I know that as well that GuMPers meet each other outside of this context as well, and are very supportive and friendly bunch. So do reach out if you're feeling lonely in this Loneliness Awareness Week, 12th to the 18th of June. And the United in Kind are urging you to go outside and get involved. And what a great time of year it is to do that here in Portugal, as we'll see when we have a look at Andy's walk this morning, as well as some lovely footage from Pete Bleacher's weekend at the Cherry Festival, and from Antonio F as well. Cheers, Tony. That's really good of you to send the videos, and you, Pete, as well. So thank you, everybody, for your wonderful material content that you're sending in. Antonio has also sent pictures of cherry trees and bowls of cherries. It's such a beautiful image, and I'll share it with you in just a moment. Cherry picking in Bragança. So lots of wonderful things from all over Portugal this morning, as we have as we swap things around and have more of a Monday vibe than we did yesterday. If you were thinking, oh, I like that slow start to the week, we're going to do it today, Tuesday, instead. The music, the performances that are coming from Antonio F on video are from the Festas de Oeiras over the weekend as well. Oeiras near Lisboa, of course. Or am I? Is it? Of course. I'm saying so. I'm sure if Antonio F is here, he'll tell us a little bit more about Oeiras or this particular festival anyway. And following on the heels of the Lisbon Book Fair as well, there is a wonderful festival of handicrafts also happening in Lisbon for a week or two as well. So that's looking pretty good. That's on the calendar over at GuMPer VIP. And where are my details for that? Oh, sorry, no, not hot on the heels of the book fair. They've got a couple of weeks to calm down after the book fair. 24th of June, the largest international handicraft fair in the Iberian Peninsula and the second largest in Europe. I wonder what the largest is. But certainly the FIA Lisboa is breathing down the neck of the largest handicraft fair in Europe, and it is the largest on the Iberian Peninsula. We're lucky in Portugal, aren't we? That if we're not the largest X, Y, or Z in Europe, we can probably claim it's the largest one in the Iberian Peninsula. So I'm copying that for anybody who loves their handicrafts. That's going into the chat now. The FIA. I didn't know anything about that until Katia Lima mentioned that on social media. So if you like your handicrafts, link to that going into the chat now, and that continues or starts on the 24th of June and continues for a week or two. I'll tell you exactly how long that's going on for. That is going on until July the 2nd, the IA event in Lisboa. Mama Bear will be joining us soon. Remember, she was here with us around a month ago in this residency. Didn't expect to see her. I thought she'd be recuperating and healing right now and taking it easy. But no, she can't resist being with us. And we're delighted to be talking to her from about 9 o'clock this morning as she is recovering and healing from surgery and finding out how that's affected her. You know how frank and open and honest and authentic she is. And she'll be just like that. From 9 this morning, and encouraging us all to be so. If you've seen the show slide this morning, the question is, how are you? Really? How are you? Come on, none of that. I'm fine, thanks. If you want to talk a little bit more deeply this morning, how are you doing? Then the atmosphere, the context, the space will be held. That's a phrase that Mamabear McGowan uses. Mamabear. I'll just go with Mamabear. It's a tongue twister. Mamabear McGowan. She'll be with us at 9. And encouraging openness about death and dying here in Portugal. And I've already had some messages. Oh, the death and dying thing on the show. I'll give that a miss. Thank you very much. I'll just pop out and have a pastel de nata. The thing about talking about death and dying is, of course, it begs the question, how do we live life to the fullest as well? So that's, that goes with that. It's not all gloom and doom. I think if you've ever watched a Departure Lounge with Mamabear McGowan, invariably we leave the conversation inspired and uplifted, not full of gloom and doom. So I think grasping the nettle, talking about death and dying here in Portugal, the practicalities, because that's important, talking about the practicalities. It has been talked recently. It was on our Dream Team discussion 9 o'clock last Thursday. We do that every 9 o'clock Thursday. The Dream Team session with the professionals that are aligned for you, a cosmic array of migration professionals. It came up, the question about how to make sure your will is in order so that it works here in Portugal. If you've got a will from somewhere else, you have to have a little bit of Portuguese paperwork as well to make sure that's working properly too. So it's those details that we talk about, but also, the big question, what is it to live a full and meaningful life in the face of knowing that someday, and then that's where we go into the taboos, the passing away, that thing, that all of us have to face, that none of us really, well, not many of us anyway, apart from Mamabear McGowan, want to talk about. So here we are, an opportunity to talk. You can't say we don't give you an opportunity to talk about it every month here on the Good Morning Portugal show. Suze is in, the Global Nobles, Nubianettes, James, Jim, and the Ancient Mariner. Did I see the Ancient Mariner here, present and correct? That Able Seaman, the Ancient Mariner. Antonio F is here. Great. Good to see you, Antonio. Bon dia todos. I'm having one of those moments where I think I've forgotten something I started talking about. But anyway, if it's important, we'll come back to it. Matty's here too. Pete, thank you, Pete. One of our top video correspondents this morning. 007 also here this morning. Lovely to see you here. And the wise men of the GuMPocalypse. Oh, that did include Ancient Mariner this morning, who was just here to say that he's unable to tune in today, but wishing you all the very best from deepest, darkest France. Thank you for that, Ancient Mariner, who's rubbing shoulders with Coach Turner, who will be here on Friday, of course. I think we'll talk about Portuguese rugby on Friday. T-Duck is in. That'll be Portuguese rugby with Phil and Bobby. Always a lot of fun hanging out with those fellas. T-Duck in with some wonderful content, talking about curry this morning, among other things. And 007 with greetings from Tenerife, holding the banner for the awesome Goonie Mama Bear, my amazing friend, says 007, who's enjoying the dad jokes while they're here as well. So thank you for being here this morning, 007. Let's play a few of those videos. I did promise you an easygoing start. Let me stop chattering and play you a few wonderful videos that have come in. Festivities, music from around Portugal. Let's sit back, have a cup of coffee, cup of tea, and watch a few of these clips of video that have been coming in. So do enjoy and relax into the entertainment that's being provided here via Antonio F and Pete this morning. See if you can guess who is sending. Well, there from Alcongosta, a man on a big ball, and some tribal rhythms as well. That's pretty good, isn't it? A good way of setting the scene as those cherries are making their home in your belly. Very good. We're going to mix it up this morning. I think we're going to be going back and forth from Alcongosta and Irish this morning. Here's some more music for you. Portuguese style there. Fantastic. I'll come back with a name check of all the artists that you're seeing this morning in just a little while. I think we're going back to Alcongosta this morning now. Ooh, blimey, this gets you in your one of your lower chakras, that, doesn't it? I think that's in the Ruti chakra, where we're feeling those Celtic vibes and rhythms. Wow, brilliant. Okay, we'll keep going with the music. We'll play a different video. At times like this, I've just got to say, Portugal, you rock. I mean, isn't that amazing to chance upon that and to see that and to still be able to see that? You could have been in Portugal in the 50s, 60s, 70s of the 20th century. Absolutely beautiful. Thank you so much, Pete, for being so thoughtful and sending those to us. Alcongosta, the Cherry Festival, and I'll make sure we put that up on the internet somewhere in our community so that you can enjoy that again. Thank you very much, Pete. I think we're going for some straight up rock and roll now. Back further south with some contemporary music and some little snatches from the Irish Festival this weekend. But thank you. Not the Irish Festival, the Irish Festival. There's a cigarette paper's difference between the two. But as you can see, I don't think this is necessarily Irish music. It's Portuguese rock and roll at its best. Not one of the most rocky and rolly segments of rock and roll. Then let's see what happens if I push this button. Só Deus conhece o meu fardo, só Ele pode julgar. Foi Deus que o tornou sagrado aos olhos do meu cantar. Foi Deus que o tornou sagrado aos olhos do meu cantar. Tenho o meu. There you go, and finally. Oh, malhão triste, malhão, oh, malhão triste, malhão, oh, malhão triste, coitado, eu por ti suspiro, eu por ti doais, eu por ti não vou suspirar jamais, eu por ti suspiro, eu por ti doais, eu por ti não vou suspirar jamais. Oh, malhão triste, malhão, oh, malhão triste, coitado, oh, malhão triste, malhão, eu por ti suspiro, eu por ti doais, eu por ti não vou suspirar. Wow, that's Cuca Rosetta, I believe, and the more rocky bit that you heard earlier on from the Irish Festival was George Palma. So we had George Palma there and Cuca Rosetta, courtesy of Antonio F. Thank you very much for that insight into the festa there and that popular music here in Portugal. And thanks again, Pete, for your wonderful music from more traditional folky music from Alcongosta, the Cherry Festival over the weekend. Fabulous. We're out on a walk now with Andy. We're having a nice leisurely start to the week here and pretending it's Monday because it was a little bit busy yesterday. And this is what sets the scene for me usually on a Monday, is going out for a walk in the Bairrada district with Andy. So let's see what he was up to yesterday.
Morning.
Here we are. Chris has just dropped me off, so we're walking home. We're sitting at the back of Ancash, which is between Anadir and our place. They've got the abobas growing there. We've got some potatoes. Looks like some courgettes over there, and some sweet corn. And obviously the vineyards with all the grapes. They're all starting to, you can just see the little tiny grapes on them now. And the trees, I'll be going up through there, through the woods, across this little footbridge, and then past that Pato's vineyard and all of his fields. He's just replanted some new fields, and then back over the top through the back way, over the top and back home. Ciao ciao.
Hellish, as Andy would say. Wasn't that lovely? The birds singing there, and almost like a little bit of viniculture. Is it viniculture, viticulture? Certainly industrial espionage from the winemaking world in Portugal. He's talking about Luís Pato and the winemaking facilities of Luís Pato, who's just replanted. So more great wine to look forward to from the rebel of Portuguese winemaking. Andy living near Luís Pato's wine production facilities up there in the Bairrada region. Now, whilst Andy was out, he made friends with a damsel fly. Oh, look at this. I think I can talk over this. He's in slow-mo here, isn't he? And we're getting ready for takeoff. Look at that! Take it off like a helicopter. A damselfly, says Andy there, in slow-mo. A little bit grainy, but I mean, isn't that beautiful? Absolutely beautiful. And it's completely in line with the advice, suggestion. Let's call it a suggestion rather than I mean, none of us like advice, do we? We like support. We like to be listened to, and we like a bit of support and the occasional serving suggestion. I did hear somebody once say that advice adds vice. So maybe just support and listening and helping and guiding is a little bit more helpful than advice. But loneliness awareness this week, United in Nature, this week, 12th to the 18th of June, is go outside and get involved in nature. And Andy doing exactly that yesterday. So we're here for you. And I'm sure Mamabear, when she's with us in about 5 minutes' time, will tell us more about Share and Care Portugal, where, of course, if anyone's feeling lonely, they can connect with a community there too, as well as this GuMPer community here. No need to be lonely here in Portugal. If you're a foreigner, immigrant, or expat, we're there for you in some way, and a way that can work for you and to meet your needs. Okay, let us go into the chat, which I've been a little bit neglectful of so far this morning, and scrolling all the way back to 7:30 this morning, when Coach Turner was in. Bom dia todos, she says. Tudo bem? Looks like we'll have another few days of scorchio weather to come here in Hertfordshire. I think you had a few thunderstorms, didn't you, in the UK yesterday or last evening? So a relaxed day ahead with a little coaching this evening. Enjoy, folks. Must be difficult coaching in the sweltering heat of the UK. Layers. It's all about the layers, isn't it? The God Squad tip of the day, then. There's one advantage to fasting overnight. Don't really have a lot of choice in the matter, do you? Unless you're one of those people who gets up and walks about and does things in your sleep, which might include eating, mightn't it? You can't snack when you're asleep unless you are one of those weird people. Sorry, I don't mean weird in a judgmental way, but I mean, that is weird, isn't it? Getting up and doing stuff while you're asleep, including eating, maybe. Unless you like R. White's lemonade. That dates a few people. One for the older Brits. I'm a secret lemonade drinker. Managed to drop 0.5 kilo yesterday. What? A chicken, is it that easy? A chicken Caesar salad for lunch and crackers, a little cheese, oranges and grapes for dinner. The only snack was later in the evening. Mixed nuts and raisins. Best way to deal with your nuts, Coach Turner, is to mix them with raisins, I think. Planning an omelette for lunch today with salad. No booze before the weekend. Well, maybe a little. You see how that changes mid-sentence. No booze before the weekend. Well, maybe a little tomorrow when I cook for Mrs. T. She was away for our anniversary last week, so yes, of course you need to celebrate with a little bit of booze, I think, by the sound of it there. So thank you very much for that, Coach Turner. And you literally lost 0.5 kilo yesterday, did you? Careless. Have you reported it? Tito, thank you, Coach Turner, all jokes aside, for taking care of our well-being in this way that you do, so in such a disciplined and diligent manner, in the way that T-Duck takes care of our intellectual and our information veracity needs, as well as a few dad jokes every day. Every day! Bon dia, Algria GuMPer, says T-Duck at 7:44. Deep thought then. Yes, of course. And inspiration too. I'm not strange. That's funny, isn't it? I was talking about judging people as being weird for sleepwalking and sleep eating or whatever else it is they do. Getting into cupboards, urinating on the hi-fi system, those sorts of things, for example. Deep thought, and that could be very dangerous, of course. Deep thought, I did hear of somebody doing that. Deep thought, I'm not strange, weird, off, nor crazy. My reality is just different from yours. So there. You can use that today. In fact, GuMPers need a T-shirt with that on, don't they? I'm not strange. I'm not weird, off. I'm not off. People don't use that word like that, do they? He's a little bit off, that fellow, isn't he? Nor crazy. My reality is just different from yours. Lewis Carroll there. Most notable works, Alice Adventures in Wonderland. Ate the wrong mushrooms one day. Next thing you know, Alice in Wonderland comes out, the right mushrooms, you could say, and its sequel, Through the Looking Glass. Quem sabia then today? Goan Vindaloo, or Vindalho, is an Indian curry dish, which is originally from Goa, based on the Portuguese dish Carne da Vinha de Ilhos. Wow, it is known. Jimmy, this dog can push the patio doors open with his nose. You should be on Portugal's Got Talent, my boy, but no, not now. Go in your box, in the sunshine. Good boy. Go on, off you go. Go and lie in the sun. That's it. So where were we? Yes, known globally in its British Indian form as a staple of curry house and Indian restaurant menus, and is often regarded as a fiery, spicy dish, not unlike Mrs. M. And a standard element of Goan cuisine derived from the Portuguese carne de vinha de Ilhos, meat in a garlic marinade. A vindaloo is a dish of meat, usually pork, marinated in vinegar and garlic. That sounds like the beginning of a bifania to me, doesn't it to you? The basic structure of the Portuguese dish was the Portuguese sailors preserved raw ingredients packed in wooden barrels with alternate layers of pork and garlic and soaked in red wine. That's the beginning of a bifana, isn't it? But then, once taken to Goa, can you imagine? They were on ships forever and ever, weren't they? Weeks and months, going to all here, there, and everywhere. And they had barrels with marinated meat in, preserved meat in garlic and wine. And it must have been, it was like a lottery, wasn't it? Opening that up and hoping that nothing had spoiled inside. And you'd been tempted to eat it anyway, wouldn't you? So hungry would you have been for something a little bit special like that. And next thing we know, we end up with the Vindaloo in Goa. Amazing. Thank you very much. And we'll save those dad jokes as we conclude the show later on. Yes, 007 is in, and we'll come back and say a few more hellos to everybody with a Mama Bear this morning. I'll just go to one quick comment from Pete here on that note of curry. It amazes me constantly how Goa and Kerala have such amazing Indian food, and yet almost every Indian I have had in Portugal is full of sugar rather than spice and lacking any authenticity from the former colony. Yeah, true. It's like that. I suppose it depends, doesn't it? You've been spoilt there, Pete, to be fair, haven't you, with your trips to Goa and Kerala and eating the authentic food. And that is something, I think, that is an experience for many people who are maybe that's their country of origin and they know what the food is like, and then they come away to a foreign land and it's not quite right. Whereas the people in the new foreign land, that's all they know, so they love it. The same with Chinese food, I have to say. So yes, but I think, thankfully, the direction of travel is good with those things, isn't it? It improves over time as more and more ingredients become available, and those recipes can be delivered more authentically. Good point, Pete. Well made. Thanks again, mate, for your videos. Really beautiful. Let's go now then. Let's give her a nice round of applause. Now, that applause, a little bit too rapturous. We're having an easygoing, quiet morning. Sorry if that was a bit loud and in your face, Mama Bear. How are you today?
So good. Morning.
Look at that beautiful. Is that, where are you? There's some lovely sunshine going.
Chapel in the Frith.
Chapel in the Frith. I've driven through there. We're talking about,
Derbyshire.
yeah, we're talking about Derbyshire in the High Peak, aren't we?
Yeah.
Yes. How lovely, Chapel in the Frith. Beautiful. And how are you?
I'm great.
Excellent. So glad to hear that. So what do you want to tell us about what's been going on for you then in these
Well,
last few weeks since we last saw you?
yeah, I don't know. It's like they didn't. The operation was to remove the cancer
Right.
and was the hysterectomy, and they found endometriosis. So by default, I ended up being down in surgery for double the time. And
Wow.
they've taken the endometriosis from my bladder, my urethra, my large intestine, and it was made quite a job down there. And I tell you, I'm going to the loo and stuff, and it's all. I feel better than I did before the op. So I'm not
so
even
glad to
in
hear
pain. I just ache a bit where everything's been shifted a lot from the robot. That's it.
shifted from the robot. Your friend 007 is like me, pleased to see you this morning and glad to hear it's gone well then. And so it sounds like you are dealing with the discomfort, post-operative discomfort, and the whole process has made life a little bit easier by the sound of it, and all is going well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Isn't that wonderful?
Like the pain that I felt before, constant, and then when I fell asleep, it had gone once I came round and with it. I was like,
Fantastic.
that pain is not there. And they
Yeah.
kept saying, take some painkillers. And I was like, I don't need any. And they're like, Imad, you just had surgery. You don't have to try and be brave. I'm like, I'm not trying to be brave. I genuinely don't need painkillers. This isn't hurting. It just aches. And then when there was a pain, it was like, oh, this is wind and not pain, like wind pain, which means that paracetamols won't work. So I didn't have paracetamols or codeine. And they said there's people who've not even had surgery who are on way more painkillers than you. And I was like, yeah, I know, but I know how to identify my pain and breathe and with the discomforts and stuff. So I don't have that issue. And then they realised that I genuinely was not trying to be clever or tough. And they realised that I was just so grateful for the lack of pain. It feels so good. My body feels great, apart from the achiness. And we still have wind, so I'll apologise in advance in case anything comes either way.
Is that you moving the trees around behind you then? It's not the gentle breeze. It's not the gentle
quite,
breeze.
not yet.
Post-operative wind. And yeah, not to sort of dwell too much on that, as fascinated as I am about it, you were saying that wind pain, that can't be dealt with through analgesia. That is just what sort of massage and breathing, and that sort of works.
Can't massage post-surgery because massage is a good idea.
Yes, of course.
What works is a warm water bottle.
Yeah.
And peppermint capsule, peppermint oil in a capsule.
Yeah.
And that's walking when you can walk.
Just to ease it gently through.
Yeah, it helps it move through.
Trapped wind, from another person's point of view, it's not the trapped stuff you need to be worrying about, is it? But yes, very painful trapped wind, and where it finds itself in places it shouldn't be. So I'm so pleased for you, as is Baddy. Good for you, Mama Bear, and love and hugs to Mama Bear from Owen as well this morning. And shout out, of course, to the incredible surgeons who've performed this act of this miraculous work for you to bring you this relief. Quite amazing, isn't it, the world we live in, where we can draw upon not only the world, the sort of more subtle worlds of healing that I know you and I are very interested in as well. And we live in a world, don't we, where these amazing surgeries are part of the medical landscape as well. Because I was thinking, what was, until we got to this age of analgesia and anesthesia, people probably used alcohol, didn't they? That's probably why we had alcohol in many ways. Not just to take the edge off things, but actually to take the edge right out of things from time to time when people were in terrible pain. It was like nature provided. Nature always provides, doesn't it? And at times in human history, presumably alcohol was used for anesthetic. And thank goodness you didn't have to resort to that, and you had access to these incredible surgeries.
Yeah, the surgeon, Dr. George, was truly amazing.
Yeah.
I wasn't so sure about having a robot Like, I was like, you are joking me, aren't you? I was
Yeah,
like,
you're
I
not
don't think
joking, are
so.
you had a robot surgeon.
Yeah, but
Right.
it was through Dr. George, and he explained it to me because I don't agree with having blood, taking the blood from, I don't know where it's been, and they can't tell me where it's been, and they can't take out your own blood and let you have it back, and they can't give it you somewhere where you know it's come from.
Yes.
So if they can't tell me where the blood's been, I don't want it.
Yes.
So that then puts they're like, well, it's like tying our hands. I was like, yeah, well, it's like tying my hands, telling me, you know, you can't take mine. So I get where you're coming from. And basically the robot means that they can go in, they magnify what they see, and they can work really precisely to get done what's done without with less of a risk of needing to use blood or putting your life at danger. So I said, okay. And I had robotic surgery.
Did you really? Pre-artificial intelligence, by the sound of it. But that's probably going to come as well, isn't it?
Well, this was in real time. So the Dr. George did it, and he saw, and he was just a few feet away, and the machine was inside. So he could at any time, if he needed to, he assured me he could anyway, just pause, stop, and take over with his own hands.
There was probably one of those red buttons like you see in the movies, right? Like would disable the robot. But that sounds really amazing. That sounds like the humans don't need to be in there with all their breathing and germs and particles, and a very sterile robot can be in that environment doing its thing under the guidance of a very experienced person like Dr. George. And that's the science fiction end of it coming in, I suppose, isn't it? And in the future, it will be more programmed. And Dr. George can be out playing golf and just do it on his app. You know, get a call if there's a problem. Amazing. That's incredible. So good for yes, Mum. You're very welcome.
Good morning.
Hello, Mum. How are you?
I'm great, thanks, Carl. How are you?
Excellent. I'm delighted to hear that Mamabear here is recovering well. We've got two lovely
she's
silhouettes.
doing marvelously.
Yeah,
marvelously. I can't believe how well she's doing.
Yeah, that's fantastic news. So you're Mamabear, really, aren't you?
Well, if I can earn that privilege, yes.
Yes. We'll bestow that upon you this morning. So it must have been a bit of a difficult and tense time for you as well, of course, Mum, watching all this occurring.
Yeah, I've been to hell and back, yes.
Right, not to put too fine a point on it. And so lovely that you
sat all through, and my mum's like, oh.
Yes, and that doesn't surprise me one bit. Yeah, having Mamabear being so nonchalant about it, and I'm sure that story didn't surprise you with the post-operative pain relief when they're saying to her, "You don't need to be brave. Take the painkillers." That sounds a bit Mamabear to me.
I know. I'm completely the opposite. You know, give me loads and I'll be fine.
Yes. What you got, Doc? I'll take the lot. Fantastic.
Yeah, that's right. That's the one.
Yeah, wonderful. Okay, so look at this, Nubianet as well. So many friends here wishing you well. I hope Mamabear continues to heal excellently and has no speck of cancer left, is what Nubianet's saying, who's on tour in Portugal at the moment. How's it going, Nubianet? Do tell us more. So, you know, you're full of the realizations and reflections, Mamabear. This is the Departure Lounge. The only death we're talking about at the moment, however, this morning, is that the cafe is dead. I'm not sure there's much we can do about that, apart from say, I don't know, it was a great cafe.
Thank you for its time.
Yes, thanks. I think he means in terms of atmosphere. It's not a terminal situation for the cafe this morning. But this is the Departure Lounge, and you reflect, don't you? Of course, on death and dying here in Portugal. What has this experience brought to you, Mamabear? In these, I mean, you know, you've come. Let's face it, you've come face to face with a little bit of mortality in the last little while. You spoke openly about it last time you were here. What else have you been thinking along those lines?
Actually,
I bet.
Well, it was amazing. It was amazing because my little room, I had a little room of my own, and I was on a ward surrounded by a lot of people grieving. Many people who've lost their babies, who have had to, you know, staff who had lost their babies who work on the ward, people, not just hysterectomies, not just cancer, but so much grief, so much just going on right there. And my room turned into some kind of weird sanctuary where people used to just pop in, and like I'd pray with one nurse, or we'd just sit and listen to another, or a doctor, or someone had come in for a chat, or we'd talk about pain, or we'd talk about medication, or we'd talk about life and death. And it really was a blessing. I met so many amazing people with so many truly amazing stories. It was just so beautiful to see so much life and death and compassion in one space.
Yeah. And so there you were. Let me get this right. You were doing your thing, weren't you? Basically, you were meant to be in there getting treatment for yourself, and it turned into a share and care Mamabear full-on scenario.
Well, I guess so. Yeah, I didn't do anything. It just happened. I just flowed with everything as it happened, and I was just lay there, and I'd be lay asleep or in deep meditation, and I'd come out and they'd take my temperature and do my blood pressure, and then we'd start talking, and then maybe we'd end up praying, or we'd end up like listening to things, or or they'd come to try and give me painkillers, and then of course we'd start talking about breathing into pain and how we can identify pain and what is pain really. And yeah, it was really like
there's your mum, right, bringing you some grapes. There's your mum, a mama bear coming in, bringing you some grapes or whatever, and expecting you to be peacefully recovering in your room. And it's full of people, full of people praying or meditating.
I had no visitors. I'd said no visitors. I just want to be about me, and I just want to rest. And that's what I was in. And then when my mum did come, she came, didn't you, to collect me?
Yeah.
And they got my mum and dad, and they got the wheelchair to put me in to take me to the car. What was it she said to you, the nurse?
Yeah, she said, thank you for coming in, and we've learned so much from you. Brilliant. That's what they said as the nurse handed her over. And I thought, all right.
Right. Where do we, this is where you send your invoice to the NHS. And when can you come back? When can you come back? That's amazing.
I said, like, they said, do you offer lessons? I said, I'd be more than happy to teach, like to help people and staff to manage the grief. I explained about Share and Care Portugal. I explained about the grief counselling that we offer for free. I explained that, if they want to look at pain management, they just need to give us a shout and we can, do that together. I don't mind holding like little classes for the staff and stuff like that. I really don't. It'd be an honour. So it just all happened. I didn't walk in there with my cards. I didn't say anything. I just went in and just breathe through things, and that was just it. And somehow the cleaner came in. She goes, and I didn't know. She just popped in. I said, "Excuse me, please. Would you mind opening my locker?" She goes, "I'm just a cleaner." Right. And disappeared. And then she come back and went, "Excuse me." I said, "You are not just a cleaner." I said, "You are an amazing part of this hospital team. You are so vital in the running of the hospital, and you're an amazing person. What you do is vital, and the hospital couldn't get on without you. So don't come in here saying you're just a cleaner."
Yeah. Now
and she was just like crying, and I'm like, "Look, you're amazing."
Yeah, well
it's so important. Like you're more zen than anyone in here. At least you meet me as another human being. It's not patient carer, it's not patient doctor, it's just two souls,
Yes.
And she was, after that we really seemed to get on. It was beautiful. It really is just a case of just being, and when you just be, things happen.
Yes, and the consultant coming. Look, can all of these people leave this room? I need to speak to the patient, please. All of you, come back later, for goodness sake. Right, and you would be completely forgiven, and I think a lot of people do want to possibly say here that, of course, you must give yourself attention and space and peace for healing. But we don't need to teach you how to suck eggs on this matter, I'm sure. More comments coming in. Yeah, Nubian Net, thank you for that. And Bayrandi, amazing, fantastic. You're feeling well so soon, says Bayrandi. Avut is here as well. Brilliant to see Mama Bear looking so radiant. I've noticed that from your videos. If people want to keep in closer touch with you, if they subscribe to your YouTube channel, you are journaling, documenting your recovery, and you do, doesn't she, Mama Bear, look radiant in the sort of follow up? Yes, absolutely. And I'm sure there's a bit of Mama Bear care going on. That's part of that mix as well. That's helping with the radiant.
Yeah, hair.
Yeah.
What's it? A manicure, pedicure.
Yes, Mama Bear. Fantastic. She's got you sat still long enough to do these things. That's fantastic.
I can't run away.
I have myself a captive audience.
You just have to stay there and be cared for. Best wishes for a speedy recovery and no cancer in the body, says Matty. I think that's probably best wishes, although that is quite a nice little self-care tip to put a little cuddly cozy vest on as well. So glad we do have the technology available to do what they did. Absolutely, amen to that. Pete's saying it's disgusting that midwives in the UK get less than 3 hours training on stillbirths as part of their training. So glad you're feeling lots better, Mama Bear. And I'm sure those midwives get a lot of on-the-job training as well, outside the academic part of it, as they gain their experience, hopefully, Pete, as well. Glad to hear. This is a Facebook user who's saying, glad to hear Em feels so well and finally got the answer she needed as far as that incredible pain she's held for years. What? Does she know what's next? And these questions, are, of course, we're in a live environment. You take on what you want to or not, as the case may be, Mama Bear here. So don't feel obliged to answer anything. But if you do, feel free to do so. It sounds like a police caution suddenly, doesn't it? Is there to be a follow-up treatment? And when will she be able to return to her beautiful project in Portugal? So would you like to tackle any of those?
Thursday, I set off back. I'm doing a 5-day camping trip to. My mum thinks I'm crazy.
This is the bit where mum is like, "Oh my god, here we go again."
Yeah. I need to be back in nature, and I'm going to be traveling with my good friend in his van, and we're going real slow. And we've been through the things with the consultant. We've made sure everything is above board and exactly what he says is to be done will be done. There may still be cancer. They don't know. We find out in a few weeks what the histology report says. I don't care. I genuinely don't. I won't be having chemo or radio or HRT or anything like that because I don't agree with it. I'm going to return to my healthy diet and healthy living and my ways, my Mama Bear ways, which work for me. Yes. Now we all have our own ways, and it's learning to listen to ourselves and not other people that will help, you know.
Very good. Okay, so I think that answers the questions there, and that's from Corey, I think. Morning, Carl, Ems, and Mum. So shout out to Mum. We're enjoying having you here, Mama Bear, as well, and 007 calling you Mama Ramadas Bear. So you got a new name. That's you in the hospital there, I think, as Mama Ramadas Bear, consulting and being available to people. Lee McGrady's here, who gave us that the report about the cafe. Morning, Lee. Good to see you, mate. And pain management, says Matty, is a good thing if you can't solve the root cause like cancer. In other cases, you should try to remove the root cause of the pain and not tune it out with painkillers. That's quite a good comment, isn't it?
Carl, because the thing is, everything in life is a tool for growth. Now, sometimes you have to have the tool like the painkillers to be able to get your head round the tool for growth. When you're using something as a tool for growth, when you're capable, there's nothing wrong with science. There's nothing wrong with medication. There's nothing wrong with anything if done in moderation and mindfully. The difference is when we start using things as a crutch. So, you know, it's okay to use painkillers and we shouldn't turn away from them. But while we start to get used to our body, like I've been doing body scans for years. I've been tuning into my body, learning to feel what's right for me, learning what pains what, how to distinguish between different pains, different sensations, different feelings. And it's a practice. So to practice it now when there's maybe nothing up, or practice it when maybe there are little things that are going on for us, practicing now means that when things do show up, we're more resilient, we're more capable, we're more able to tune into our practice instead of drop into a state of fear. Yeah. And that's why, and one of the nurses came over to me and she said, wow, this is amazing. This is why you're so resilient, because you just can. Because they saw me just drop into like meditation. I was in deep meditation, and the guy came in, a beautiful student nurse called Jay Krishna, of all names. I was so blessed. and he came and he did my blood pressure. And he was very confused. And then he put it on the other arm, and he was very confused that he got the same reading, and it was obviously wrong to him because I was so chilled out. And then he went and got another nurse who came in and did my blood pressure and got the same reading again. Yes. And the thing was, I was just relaxed.
Yeah.
And the machine wasn't broke.
I think you put a spanner in the works there, didn't you? That's an interesting sort of scientific comment, almost, isn't it?
Well, have a nice day at work. Thank you.
Oh, sorry, Mama, but you got to go.
Yeah, sorry, to work.
Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that.
I know, but we've got to keep there. Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. Good morning, everybody. I hope you all have a lovely day.
And to you as well. Have a great day. Ciao, ciao. Bye for now. Enjoy that lovely weather over there in the UK.
Yes, I'll see you later. Bye.
See ya. Bye for now. Oh, how lovely. And your mum's actual name, if you don't mind, because I'm calling her Mama. What? Linda. Linda, as in beautiful in Portuguese. There you go.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Linda by name, Linda by nature there. Have a great day, Linda. Thank you, Mama Bear. Yeah, okay. I think Matty there was talking about like covering over and never getting to the root cause there. So good work, the pair of you, I think, the Matty Mama Bear combo. And very interesting from that sort of scientific point of view, the machine should be saying this, right? And you confounded that. Maybe is the machine broken, or is this patient truly having a normal blood pressure despite these difficult circumstances?
Well, it was low. It was low, not normal.
Oh, okay.
I was 59 over 85.
Right, and it should have been higher, or it should have been higher. What were they expecting?
It should have been like It should have been over 100. It should have been something in 110, 15, something like that.
And did you have to stress yourself out a bit to bring it up a bit?
No.
You stayed with the low blood pressure there. Sorry, I'm making inappropriate jokes. Okay, that's lovely. I think this is Corey still. That's lovely. You getting some self-care. Good. Yes. And I'm just thinking to myself, what a combo. The two Mama Bear generations, you doing the work you do, and your mum doing the manicure, pedicure, that really special energy of mum care going on in the mix there. Unfortunately, says Pete, they get no more training than that, Carl, and obviously have the chance of getting seized with every mortality. Yeah, the state of British midwifery, I think Pete is commenting on there. Have a great day, Nubian Air in Porto. I think you're enjoying yourself in Porto. That was an amazing meal you had last night that I had a little sneak peek of on social media. And it is acceptable, of course, to use painkillers to get over a weekend before we see someone that can help. Or a weakness, maybe that is not a weekend. But, obviously some people need painkillers over weekends too. We've all been there, have we not? Pain is our body's language to tell us that there's something that needs our attention. Now, we might want to expand on that, Mama Bear, because that's not just physical pain. That can be existential pain as well, can it not?
Pain is just something. It's an overused word. It's a 4-letter word that contains so much. Pain, it's a sensation that our body's saying it wants something to look at something. It's trying to protect us. It's trying to say there's a danger, potential danger. It wants to stay safe. So if we stub our toe, it can hurt. If we end up crying because we're heartbroken, that's a mental pain. We've got all these different types of pain, the physical ones, we've got the mental ones, the emotional ones, we've got there's so much that you could call pain, like wind pain, you know, is very physical, and the pain with anesthetic is a brain, it's connected with your brain and not your body as well, because I was discussing this with the anaesthetist, and the charcoal tablets wouldn't work necessarily for some wind pain, whereas peppermint tea does and peppermint oil does. And that's something to do with how the substance that we put in, the medicine, the peppermint oil, in comparison to charcoal tablets, is taken in by the body and neutralizes whatever, because the sickness and the pain post-anesthetic is processed differently in the brain rather than the body.
And so, I mean, pretty much what Matty's saying here is useful, isn't it? If there's pain, you know, give it attention and find out what's going on. It's there for a reason.
Well, it's a lack of mercy. That's what happens. In society, we're so merciless with ourselves. We're so cruel. We'll stub our toe and then have a go at ourselves for stubbing our toe instead of giving ourselves the love that we needed, our toe needed. And then we'll continue to tell ourselves that through the day, which will then set the body off again. Because as soon as we're reliving that story through repeating the story in our mind, we're then creating pains as well. It's crazy. And what we need to do is learn to have mercy for ourselves, that love, that self-compassion that allows us to soften, to just say, okay, I can acknowledge there's something going on. I'm going to give myself a minute, 2 minutes, just to see what is going on here, and can I soften myself to this sensation?
Well, yes, and in the little scenario you described there, I guess many people's in our modern life, our response might be, I haven't got time to sit down and listen to my throbbing toe. I need to get on and make sure that idiot who left the chair there in the first place doesn't do that ever again. There ought to be a law against it. And this is what how we tend to be, isn't it? Is rather than listen to the incoming information, which is there for a very good reason, isn't it? It's like the body, I'm just trying to help you not walk into furniture. Seems reasonable, isn't it? And there you go, cursing and whatever else, because the furniture is in the wrong place or because you weren't paying attention or whatever. Yes, a lovely little sort of vignette to our general behavior, I suppose, in the modern society that we live in, so-called progress. Very interesting comments coming in. However, Mama Bear, and are you all right to stick with us for a bit longer? Because I'm going to look at a little bit of Portuguese news as well that people might want to phone in about and have a chat with us. But if someone's just tuning in, like, who is this woman that Carly's talking to this morning on the Good Morning Portugal show? Why is it called the Departure Lounge? Is that building the Departure Lounge? What is this? Can you just give us a little bit of an introduction to how you would like people to know you in and beyond this community, and tell us about Sharing Care Portugal as well, if you will.
Well, I'm Mama Bear. I'm here because no one should be alone. You can share Portugal if you're sitting with just anything that's bothering you, mainly grief. Now, grief is where we're emotionally attached to something and then it's gone. So we've got a set of loss. It can be a loss of a job, loss of a country, loss of a lifestyle, loss of a pet, which would be a bereavement, loss of a person, which would be a bereavement, unless it was a loss of a partner through a breakup, that's still grief, you know. There's so many things, COVID, that caused so much grief and separateness. There's no need for separateness. There's no need for a divide. You know, you can reach out. You don't have to go this far alone. We're here. Carl's here. I'm here, and we provide a safe space for you where you can just sit and be. You know, we've got the group there where I offer grief counselling for grief and trauma work. I do other stuff with the peaceofeye.com, which is my website. For helping people just tune into themselves, you know. If you're dancing with death, even if you're feeling suicidal, it's not silly. It's pretty normal, actually, these days, unfortunately. Reach out. There's nothing silly about it. If you're sitting there contemplating assisted dying, reach out. That is now something that's being processed in Portugal. I'm not sure exactly how they're going to do it, but it's now legal. The law got passed in Portugal that assisted dying will be allowed. I don't know. It's still so fresh. They haven't specified, and I'd love to know more. Yes. But we've got that big thing agreed now, so that Portugal will become like Belgium, like Holland, like Switzerland, like America, well, certain places in America, where you can come if you're suffering, and if you meet the set criteria, you'll be able to check out and have more control over when you transition and have a death with dignity. And that is something that I'm so passionate about. You know, that matters. You can make a difference. Portugal's making a difference. It's joining the many countries that have chosen to make a difference and give that option for people. We've had euthanasia for pets for years. Now we can have it for people. And we're waiting to see what the criteria is. So when it's something that you're sitting with, like a serious illness, or, I mean, mental health is still a serious illness, chronic illness, something that's there. Maybe it's not terminal, but life's terminal. It's okay. Come, talk, reach out. We're here.
There you go, and that's the group on Facebook where you can do exactly that with and others. I mean, it's a generally supportive community there, and you'll get a good reception. That's Share and Care Portugal, and we'll continue our conversation and actually take a look at the constitutional changes, which I think I don't know if that the assisted dying euthanasia, which however it's being referred to here in Portugal, whether that is part of the constitutional change. There are some other interesting things in the constitutional changes, which we will discuss, but not until we've taken on a few more comments this morning and welcome more people to the show. And yeah, share these good wishes with you as well, Em. And we had an earlier comment about cocaine and opium, because I made the comment about pain management, analgesia and anesthesia back in the day, and alcohol, how we used that before. Opium and cocaine were used in the early 20th century. You could buy it in the local pharmacy with no prescription. They don't talk about that openly, says 007. I mean, but I guess that's how humans roll, isn't it? We tend to keep coming up with, evolving and coming up with solutions for our pains. Whether they
psychedelics are good as well. Psychedelics can be good for helping transitions, and not always the ones where we, are heading out, but sometimes for pain management. There's a lot of research going into this at the moment with Johns Hopkins University in the States.
And I know researchers and producers here in Portugal that are working with, I think, particular kinds of mushrooms for helping with mental health issues as well. So quite amazing, the mushroom and the CBD development going on in Portugal as well. So yeah, that's us. That's humans in action at the moment, isn't it? Are trying to deal. I mean, it's just amazing with our free will, this sort of dynamic of free will and evolution, how it is that we look at our. I suppose that's what we're doing here more generally, isn't it? As human beings, we do like it's pleasure pain sort of principle, isn't it? We do want to address our pains in some way, and then we have a whole spectrum of addressing that, and ways that are appropriate and supportive and sustainable, and clearly some ways that aren't. And we take a few wrong turns, and hopefully we can back up the truck from time to time and say, no, not that road, this one over here. This is working better for us as a species. Okay, pain management. Thank you for that, Matty, as well. Let me just catch up to where we were before. And the use of painkillers. Oh, yeah. Matty, continuing on painkillers. Over a long period, painkillers will have more damage to the body because it will do movements that damage the structure, as there is no pain anymore to prevent that movement. Of course, and that, again, is a metaphysical, that's a transferable thing, I suppose, in our lives, isn't it? If we have painkillers emotionally, we stop the stimulation of a gift that might be a healing gift, and we turn our back on it. So these things work on all sorts of levels. Lovely message from Doug. Big thanks to Good Morning Portugal and to Mamabear for all her help and advice during dark times when I was bedbound. Lots of love to you, Doug. Yeah, love to you, Doug, this morning. Great to see you here, mate. Low blood pressure, good point, Pete. Just as dangerous as high. So forget my levity around that subject. That's something I've had, is tend to have low blood pressure when it's measured. Got prescribed coffee and chocolate, says Pete, after my blood pressure was low. I stick to it religiously. One of the easier regimes to stick to, I think, though, right, Pete? Great natural medicines. Love the second one, particularly the chocolate and the coffee and the chocolate there. And Corey, I think the act of stubbing your toe is about telling you to reconnect, to slow down. I mean, literally, right? You've reconnected with some timber in the shape of furniture, possibly, and you're being invited to reconnect, slow down, and be more in the moment in your body. Slow down, says Corey. And Will Thompson is here. Good morning. Not so much as a good morning, just getting stuck in with a bit of snarky comment there. Come on, Will. Play nicely. This morning, coffee and chocolate, excellent medicines in the apocalypse, which I think is where Will is at the moment. Quite apocalyptically minded, judging by the video you posted the other day on my timeline, Will, accusing me of all sorts of things. What's going on, says Will. Everyone planning on killing themselves, and that's normal now. Wow. I think a little bit of an exaggeration there, Will. And as I say, play nicely. I mean, be useful and helpful and be part of the conversation. There's a lot of background here, everybody. Sorry, go on.
What matters is that you come from a place of love and compassion. And when you sat with people like I have, who, and myself included, and family members, as well as people that I serve with love and a whole heart, you get to meet many amazing people who've led very different lives. And I've worked also on the railways, helping people who wanted to kill themselves right there and then. And I've been there. So I know, being a Samaritan since 2014, and I know for being a doula for a good few years now, that people who want to die, the thought hasn't come to them lightly. The thought comes because they feel hopeless and trapped and stuck, and no one's listening. And they're in this awful position where they're not able to be heard or be seen, and they're treated like a disease, and they don't feel that they've got a way out. When they find people who will listen, and they're then able to take control of their lives, they're then able to improve their quality of life while it still is, and then make a more informed decision about when to check out at the right time instead of doing it from a place of fear, which enables them to get the stuff in order and then enables people to have a much happier, more comfortable death where they can make amends with the family and the friends and people that do matter. It's such a complex thing, and it isn't about just choosing to kill yourself, because that is very insensitive and lacks a whole lot of compassion. When you're actually sitting there bedside and you're joining people by the railways as they're about to jump, and you meet them, and maybe you're the first person that has listened to them for a very long time. You're the first person that's seen them. You're the first person that's actually gone, wow, mate, that's not okay. And I'm really sorry that you're going with that. Can we just be together right now? Yeah. That matters. And giving people the opportunity to just be and connect and feel that. And it's not a false love. I love people with a whole heart, and I meet people exactly where they are, right there. And I can be there with that. And they can be there, and they can pour out all what needs to come out. And I've never had anyone leave me or leave my presence feeling worse than when they arrived. And we've often gone on to keep good contact over a time where fantastic things happen and things have been able to be put in place, and I've helped them take control and manage that to happen in their own lives. So what you'll find is, by allowing people to talk without being judged and giving people that safe space, they get an amazing, what feels like a miracle, to be able to explore their truth, their personal truth, at a time when most people are so merciless, they can't even bear to sit with them in the same room, let alone pick up the phone and go, are you okay? Because they can't even answer that honestly, because if you get the, are you okay? And they say, well, actually, no, people don't want to hear that.
Right.
So it's so important that together, people like myself and Carl, be that little light and be that safe sanctuary for people to go to. And 007, we provide a place where people can come and be themselves and honour their truth and express themselves and find that bit where even just 1 or 2 words or just being present with another person allows them to let go. That is the miracle, that loving space that we provide gifts another soul.
Beautiful. Thank you for that. We'll come back to Will's comments because what's just come in is beautifully connected, thanks to Coach Turner, with another deep thought of the day. Try to be a rainbow in someone else's cloud. That's exactly what you just talked about there, basically, Mama Bear, isn't it? From Dr. Maya Angelou, different kind of doctor there, doctor of the soul, perhaps. Thank you for that, Mama Bear, much appreciated. And back to Will's comments. He's angry, and I do understand why, Will. The same service, Sharing Care Portugal, available to you. But there's a lot for someone who's seeing this and Will's comments. There's a lot of context they're not be aware of, and I'm not one to censor generally unless it gets really difficult and sort of counterproductive to the general flow of things. So I'll continue to share your comments here, Will. That I think Mama Bear has not dealt with, but like responded fully to you. With your comment there. DMT, I think it's reference to the psychedelics that we were talking about briefly. I mean, where else are you going to hear things like this on a breakfast show? Probably not very many other places. I'm not free, says Will. And that's in the financial sense, I think. I charge these days for life-saving medical info since I got shafted last time by somebody. Public service announcement. Oh, and I think we lost Will anyway. But if you are still listening, Will, and you want to be listened to, that sounds like it might be quite a good idea. Share and Care Portugal, mate. And Matty, just got off the phone with the clinic. I have an appointment at 11. Hopefully it is nothing bad. Well, fingers crossed for you, Matty, there. And so got to go get ready. Yeah, absolutely. Well, good luck. Best wishes to everyone. And ati prossima. Cheers, Matty. And thank you for your contributions this morning. That was Fiona. Morning, Fiona, talking about stubbed toes. Probs doesn't realize she needs to sign off. Thank you very much for whoever was a friend of Fiona's there who could see that, but I couldn't. You do have to give StreamYard your permission for them to share your name publicly, which is probably a good thing. Sometimes, says Pete, the only person that can help someone is themselves. And I'm hearing a bit of polarity in that, Pete.
It's
like
always,
it doesn't have to be either.
There's no sometimes about it.
Sure, but it doesn't have to be either or, does it? It's like, what I'm hearing there possibly is, well, we can help other people, but they need to help themselves. But I mean, presumably the best combo is both, isn't it? We help each other and we help ourselves.
The thing is, what I've learned through lots of screwing up, so I've managed to really screw up many times.
Yes.
And I've wanted to help from my own perspective. Yeah, for years. And I was listening to other people help from theirs. And that's been one of the hardest things about my journey, has been people trying to fix things and change things and do things from their own perspective without contemplating asking me when it's my body. They've not asked me what's right for me and my body. You should be doing this. I want you to do that, making plans and stuff. And it's not helpful, because what's more helpful is listening. So when you listen to what someone's actually got to say, so it's that time again where you're taking time to join and meet someone, whether it's online or in person, where you're sitting and you're just being together and you're a listening ear. And then you can hear them and see them, and sometimes no words need to be said. And then that person then hears themselves speak and can process. So that person will only help themselves when they're ready. Otherwise, they're just going to be pushing and fighting. But listening and just being present and just loving that person anyway. Like me and my relationship with my daughter, I love her so much, and I can't save her. She has to save herself. And that's a hard thing to do as a mum.
Of course,
you know, it's a hard thing to do as a parent. It's a hard thing to do as a friend. And yeah, I'm learning, and I am learning, every day's a school day, that to be there and to be present and to listen, it creates more opportunities for them to realize what's going on in their own head, and for them to fix and change things for themselves and feel when things aren't right, than what would ever happen if you took over. Because when we take over and fix things, we create someone's crutch. We're creating codependence. We're stopping them learning their own lessons. We're stopping their personal evolution. We're stopping them receiving their own gifts and gifting people. So by listening, that's the best help that we can ever do, to listen, to hear, and to speak.
Yes, indeed. Something that James reminds us of on a Monday. This whole sort of Stephen Covey thing, what is it? First seek to understand and then be understood. And this whole thing about in our society, and I suppose a lot of reflections of this in social media and how we tend to communicate in the current time, is being ready with our response, compared to being ready or just being there. Just being ready or being
righteousness. It's that I'm right, so you must be wrong. Well, how about we're all right?
Or we're all wrong. We're all still learning.
There's no wrong either, because we're all just making mistakes, which is a mistake. It's a chance to redo it.
Yep. And we're all still I mean, that I think is quite difficult for us human beings, is the not knowing. Not being able to, because we do. I mean, that's how we see help, isn't it? It's coming up with the right answer. Here's what you should do. You can understand why people would imagine that to be help, because we don't want to see ourselves or each other in pain, do we? So we do respond, and it's all a work in progress, as you say. Every day is a school day. Beautiful, and thank you for that, Pete. Sometimes the only person that can help someone is themselves there. We're all sort of taking it in turns, I suppose, aren't we, in being the person to push the button on our own life and to be in service to each other at the same time in this incredible dance of humanity. 007, everyone is sovereign. If they want to check out, it's up to them. The crime is that they die ignorant. Maybe if they knew the truth, they would not want to kill themselves. Interesting point, 007. License to listen. Ding, 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 ding. Peace and love, people, on this beautiful day, from George Jensen. Good to see you, George. Oh, and I missed saying hello to Marcus earlier on. Forgive me if I've forgotten to say hello to you. If you said hello in the chat, why not try again? Because we've got a lovely flow of comments this morning. Cage Bird, such a beautiful poem. Dr. Maya Angelou is brilliant. Thank you, 007, for that. Not sure why my name's not showing up for everyone. I am signed in, but for some reason, when I say something, it shows my phone number, not name this end. Very odd. I think that's you, Fiona, then. Loving today's conversation as ever. Thank you for being here. Suze reminds me, a bit random this, but I think you sent me these two views the other day. Suze with the views this morning. Perhaps you could tell us where these magnificent views are, Suze. This looks to me very much central Portugal, and possibly, is it Castelo de Bode, maybe? I'm not sure. River Beach at Penacova. There you go. Zoom in and you see that fabulous place, Penacova. Fantastic. Thank you. So that was a bit random, but a wonderful place to go there. Just beyond, is that, you head out of Coimbra, don't you? And head towards central Portugal for that. Thank you very much, Suze. Thank you for being here. And the reason I was reminded of that is because you say, regarding our brain, we have no new information in our brains. All new information comes from outside. So speaking for myself, depressing thoughts are a repetitive loop. Reach out. New info can heal. Cheers, Suze. And Suze, you have recognized issues that need to be resolved. It is coming to that stage that is most frustrating for those that care about them. It can't just be help to make oneself feel better. Not sure what you mean there, Pete, but thank you. Keep the comments coming. And it's 8 minutes to 10. I can't believe it. I meant half an hour ago to invite people to call in if they wanted to talk about the Portuguese constitution. The reason I mention it is because we have Em here, of course, this morning on the Departure Lounge, and Em talking about the changes to assisted dying, euthanasia. We're using these words interchangeably, euphemistically. I'm not sure exactly how the Portuguese government and legislature and machinery of making legal changes refers to it. We might find out now. We might not. There's a lot in this, and there are some other issues that might catch people's attention too. Are you all right for another 8 or 10 minutes or so, Mama Bear?
Well, I'm starting to feel a bit tired, but I'd like to maybe...
Do you want to leave it there?
Request. I'd like to request if there's anyone watching who knows what's going on with these changes that could maybe be our guest for next month's Departure Lounge.
Well said,
that would be great, because that would be an awesome morning's discussion, contemplation, exploration.
So good. All right. Okay. Well, let's leave that request hanging there and go to some final words for you. So you can. I don't want to be the last person who's responsible for exhausting Mama Bear, given all we've said and learnt about you this morning. So please feel free to take the talking stick and conclude this morning, and then I'll have a little look at that constitutional stuff, and maybe somebody will phone up. So over to you, Mama Bear, this morning.
Well, just want to say thank you. Keep sharing the love, folks. Like, just don't underestimate the power that every single one of us has by listening and just being present for another being. We can create magic in this world if we want to, and all we've got to do is just stop and slow down long enough to listen. So I'm sending so much love.
Lots of love to you, Mama Bear there in the UK. Thank you very much. And instead of a big, crashy bashy round of applause, I'm going to give you some GuMPer dust. That's better, isn't it? That feels nice. That gently massages the chakras, doesn't it? More than all that applause. So thank you very much. Keep on healing, and good luck, and have fun on that journey, which is, as we heard, has been validated by the experts. As eccentric and wonderful as it sounds, you sound like you've taken a holistic view of this wonderful journey you're about to go on. So I'm presuming people will be able to keep in touch with that on your YouTube channel, which is, what's the name of your YouTube channel?
Consciously Creating Change.
Consciously Creating Change. You'll get up close and personal and insight with Mama Bear there, and you're posting, I mean, fairly regularly, aren't you, on there? Probably every day or every other day, and that journey may well be chronicled on there. Take care, you. Lots of love to you and to your mum. Lovely to have your mum Linda here this morning as well. Take care. Bye for now, Mama Bear. Ciao, ciao. See ya. There she goes. Oh, and that's great. Mama Bear pressing the button. I hate doing that to guests, pushing the button to chuck them off the screen. So whenever you come onto the screen, if you could do that for yourself, that would be great. And so I won't feel bad for doing that. In these last few minutes then, and dad jokes and a few pickies. Should I go here or not, I wonder? We might get calls on this, we might not, but do remind me. I've got a few bits of information, a few more photos. Life is a bowl of cherries, dad jokes, we've got those to come. I just want to skip through this because there were some interesting things that stuck out for me here. And this is the Portugal resident. I think some more excellent reporting from Natasha Don. The first phase of proposed changes to the Portuguese constitution almost concluded. So two things we can learn immediately from the headline there. There are changes that they were proposed and they're almost concluded now. And it is only the first phase. So maybe that euthanasia assisted dying change will be in later iterations of the constitutional changes here in Portugal. So changes include the isolation of contagious people without recourse to state of emergency. Now, this looks like it's been carried over from the pandemic times. The argument that the Portuguese constitution should not be altered during a political crisis. Yes, you would hope that constitutions are adjusted in quiet, considerate, thoughtful times, right? Not during a crisis. has seemingly, unfortunately here, fallen by the wayside. Thus, as the country is still locked in political strife, LUSA has reported that the first phase of the work of the possible Constitutional Revision Commission will end within the next few days, albeit the process is still far from over and has an uncertain outcome depending on joint approval by the PS and the PSD, the political parties here in Portugal. Now, that's a pretty good vignette motif of what's going on in politics generally here in Portugal, possibly all over the world. For people concerned with human rights and freedoms, however, there is some certainty. Both parties have already agreed in principle on two key changes: the isolation of seriously ill people and those deemed contagious without recourse to a state of emergency, and access by the intelligence services to communications metadata. And like me, did you feel a chill go down your spine? Or are you glad that these people deemed contagious are going to be carted off and locked up? Many would argue that the second change makes absolute sense. That is the access by the intelligence services to communications metadata, whatever that actually really means. What is spying? Snooping on people's private information as it's transmitted for the sake of national security, albeit, and possible international security, while the first is potentially open to almost dystopian abuse. I wonder how. The isolation of seriously ill people and those deemed contagious without recourse to a state of emergency. Oh, I see what you mean, Natasha. According to LUSA, the first reading of the almost 400 amendments proposed by the 8 parliamentary parties, this is why people don't want to go into politics, isn't it? 400 amendments, 8 parliamentary parties, will involve article by article voting to take place after the summer. But nothing is certain, for the simple reason that any constitutional revision requires approval by 2/3 of the House, which in the current parliamentary composition implies a favourable vote by the PS and PSD, both of them locked in political rivalry right now. PSD leader Luis Montenegro has already stressed that if the process is only, this is a quote, to change the fundamental law as the PS wants, his party won't play ball and the revision will fall by the wayside. The PSD will not give constitutional freebies to the PS, he said in Madeira recently. Nonetheless, both President Marcelo and the Speaker of Parliament, Augusto Santos Silva, have stressed the urgency of strengthening the country. Have stressed the urgency of, and here's the quote, strengthening how the country can face new health emergencies such as COVID-19. Oh God, what are they planning now? And with the World Health Organization attempting to pass its own treaty right now, something I looked in previously on the Iberian FM phone-in, ostensibly overriding the powers of countries in this regard. What could possibly go wrong with an unaccountable, unelected organization such as the WHO? This is my words, not Natasha's. Overriding the powers of sovereign countries. There is a lot of pressure, going back to the article, on the health aspect of people's freedoms. Thus, the following is a summary in key points provided by LUSA of the main amendments on which PS and PSD have either reached a consensus or undecided. And it goes into this health emergency matter. The PS and PSD have been the only 2 parties to agree to include the Constitution, the deprivation of liberty. Always needs to be dressed up a little bit, that, doesn't it? Being locked up and carted off. Deprivation of liberty for seriously ill and contagious patients, even without a state of emergency, with the I mean, that's a check and balance you would hope for, isn't it? But without that, people may be deprived of their liberty if they're seriously ill and contagious. And contagious in inverted commas. I mean, what does that mean? Is that a COVID test? Does that make you a contagious? With the remaining parties considering that the current legal framework should be maintained. Both parties opted for adding in the article regulating the right to liberty and security, a new exception to the current rules that allow the deprivation of liberty, although with different wording, and are willing, says LUSA, to reach a common text. So they're working on that. Socialists suggest deprivation of liberty may occur for separation from a person with a serious contagious disease or in respect of whom there is a well-founded fear of the spread of serious disease or infection determined by the health authority by reasoned decision for the time strictly necessary in the event of a public health emergency with a guarantee of urgent recourse to the judicial authority. I don't know if stupidity or ideological possession are included in the what's considered contagious? Probably not. The PSD, that's me, not Natasha. The PSD used a different wording, confinement or internment for. That's so much better than deprivation of liberty. Confinement or internment of reasons of public health of a person with a serious infectious disease for as long as strictly necessary, decreed or confirmed by a competent judicial authority. Now, that's the thing, isn't it? That's where you need your text and your definitions. A competent judicial authority. Who does that? Who is that? In the discussion, the PSD stressed that its proposal requires the existence of a verified disease rather than just a well-founded fear. I remember when it was difficult to decide between a verified disease and a well-founded fear, and above all, the seal of a judge. Not just the decision of an administrative authority. Yes, that's also a good check and balance, isn't it? Like politicians making these decisions. Looks contagious to me. Lock him up. MPs also said that it would be difficult to achieve this quickly, and they agreed with the PSD's text, which allows for authorization of a posteriori. Is that a posteriority or posteriori report on the proposal for a directive? So that's what's going on constitutionally here in Portugal. There's also this matter of metadata, which I mentioned before. Animal welfare is also in the constitutional shifts. Fundamental rights and language, including the eradication of poverty. Well, that would be a good idea. It's doable. Social rights and duties, health and education, the political system itself. So a great article there if you're interested in the Constitution of Portugal and how it may be changed. Okay, popping that into the chat for you now. And let's have a look then. What's being said here? Thank you, Suze and Pete and George. The power, says George, is yours, like making your own choices and the paths you take in life, but giving the power to government. Things that make you go, for George this morning. Look at the way Canada is rolling out this assisted dying program to encompass any unfortunate undesirables. Now, that is a theory some are putting forward, that there is a rather sinister agenda in Canada, not just to empower sovereign individuals to make these decisions for themselves, but for the, as we talked about constitutionally there, for governments and judges to say, well, that person should go. And you know what I mean by that. And the ultimate deprivation of liberty, you might say. Sometimes the familiarity of discomfort and pain is easier than the discomfort of pain of being open to change of beliefs, habits, and thought processes to create an improved quality of life. So true. There's the human condition summed up in a sentence there, Sue. Thank you very much for that. George, who do these politicians work for? Well, that's a good question. And I'm not sure that is contained within the Constitution. All the shifts proposed, the people or corporations rolling out the same plan all over the world. And it can all be found on their own websites of the WHO and WEF and Agenda 2030. Now, the thing is about that comment, George, is that you can probably find out anything you want to find out on a website somewhere on the internet that proves whatever theory we have. And at the same time, I am not denying what you're saying there for one moment, that these organizations are quite clear about what their agendas are and how they would like to. I was going to use the word meddle, interfere, I was also going to use, but I'll say influence and partner with local and national government is how I'll leave it for today. And I'll sweeten and lighten the mood, and we'll remove that from the screen for the time being. And we'll go back to some beautiful life is like a bowl of cherries moments, because it is, of course. Let's not forget that. Before we get to the culmination of the cherries in the bowl, let's carry on our wander through the Bairrada countryside with Bairrandi. Thank you for that. I do like a little shrouded lane like that. That is beautiful. We're full of metaphor and poetry this morning, aren't we? An allegory. There is life, isn't it? Walking down a path, mind your step, enjoy the view, and who knows what lurks beyond down the lane there. The sun is shining sometimes, and sometimes you get rained on. That's beautiful. And there's a more wide open view. I don't know, is life like a box of potatoes as well? Sometimes you never know what you're going to get. Sometimes they're a bit blighted. Sometimes they're absolutely beautiful with a little bit of olive oil and salt and pepper on. There are potatoes being harvested on quite the slope. Bairrada there. Sorry, just coughing. And back to Big Tony, as he's known by some members of our community. There's a cherry tree in the Bragança region of Portugal. And there are the cherries. My mouth is watering already looking at a bowl of cherries. I know I'm not alone with that. Beautiful cherry harvest from the tree there in Bragança. Let us finish now then. I'm going to go, I think I'll have an Iberian FM backdrop for this last bit. And the dad jokes, thank you very much. Ordinarily, you can call in on 913. I mean, the thing is, people probably don't call in because I say it all so beautifully and brilliantly. There's no need to add any further comment. 913-590-303. Not today, though. Let's go back to those dad jokes, shall we, to finish today. I have my summer body now. It's the same as my winter body, only sweatier. I was expelled from school on pajama day. Not my fault I sleep naked. And there is a piece of aluminium or aluminum foil. Aluminum, let's not get into that right now. There's a piece, let's go with the T-Duck's pronunciation, which is probably, there is a piece of aluminum foil blowing across the road. And all I can think of is that one of you is without your protective headgear today. Oh, interesting moment to leave on after having the conversation we just had about the WEF, the WHO, and constitutions and assisted euthanasia. Cheers, T-Duck. Thank you all for being here, especially Mamabear and Mamabear. Really, really enjoyed the conversation today. It was a little bit easier going than yesterday's. And just finally then, those pictures remind me of the Ben Denver. Isn't it John Denver? But maybe Ben Denver also recorded, country roads, won't you take me home to the place I belong? Let me put the picture up. There you go. I'll leave that on the screen there for you to enjoy. And we'll welcome you back tomorrow morning when we're joined by Sarah Davey. We're going to teach Sarah some more Portuguese. So come on, come all with your Portuguese suggestions. That is noobs and muggles helping other noobs and muggles with this language and culture. So let's help Sarah learn some more Portuguese tomorrow. Colin's been in touch. There's another one of those music quizzes in the Silver Coast area, Obidos, if anyone wants to team up. We went with James and we went with Nunu last time, and a lot of fun it was if anyone wants to get involved in that team there. And thank you to Veronica, finally, the American in Portugal, who sent me a beautiful, there's a tap video going around with a gentleman by the name of Kopka. That is, I don't know if the young man in the video who is taking sardines to America, to the Estados Unidos, whether he is related to the Kopke family who produce fine wines and ports. But it's a beautiful video, and I'll make sure it's available on one of our channels, platforms for you to see. Bye, all. Let's go with that. Owen, thank you so much, mate. Take care. Bye for now, everybody. Thank you so much, and we will see you tomorrow as soon as I can find the video that takes us out of here. Bye for now, folks.
In Portugal, there's a YouTube show full of fun facts you need to know. Carl rings the bell and the members show to the GMP morning show. Featured guests will come and they will blow your mind. The audience will do so in kind. The little vanity mixed with some insanity on the morning show with GMP.
Good morning, Portugal, and I'd like to welcome you to another fantastic day.
Hey, GuMPers.